Our next item is the status report from Mr. Bilsey.
Good evening. This item is a good lead-in to our next item, which is the first visioning process for the and developing values that are going to lead us towards the work plan. So it is an introduction to that. We wanted to make sure that we had listened to the TSC requests, and we want to make sure that we listed them all and that it was complete. And they are in your staff report. I'm going to go over them here by number, but just as an overview, the commissioners have made numerous requests for follow-up action from staff. And we are going to be using different methods to address these issues. So tonight we're just going to make sure we heard you and we have a good list. We're not going to answer them all here, but we may use different methods to address the issues, and that might be a phone call if it's a specific question and treat you almost like a public, someone from the public that just had something that they wanted clarification on, or an email. We might have an agenda attachment like we did this week or this month, so that it's just an information item. There's no need for a discussion, or it could be an agenda item, and that requires a dialogue and a discussion. So with that, we need to develop the upcoming work plan so that we can prioritize and guide the future agenda items. There might be too much on our plate for us to be able to do that and our other activities outside of the TSC. So staff has to develop the work plan, and we work with the City Council to make an understanding of what we can realistically get to, so don't overcommit and we manage expectations. So that is really the essence of the work plan that we're going to be developing with you. And as a result, some requests just may not be able to be addressed this year. They may not be able to fit in the work plan, and we won't be able to get it to it with our current staffing. So with that, these are in no particular order, but these are the items that have been recorded. I could walk through them. They're all 20. I don't know if we could walk through them, but I will go through them then. Recommend guidelines for lane striping and roundabouts and increase the outreach to train the public how to navigate roundabouts by bikes and autos. Second one was to review the municipal code and the current prohibition on bikes and sidewalks. And third is to review the project scope of work for Tamarack and Carlsbad Boulevard and the CIP projects related to that. Follow up on restriping of Melrose Drive at Palomar Airport Road, and request or see how the possibility of removing the trap lane north of Palomar Airport Road to add a bike lane. The fifth was to report on traffic volumes or show a trend analysis. 6 is a citywide report on collisions to identify sites with high collision rates. 7th, presentation of the Grand Promenade concept that was included in the Village Master Plan. 8 is review speed limits on Alga Road. We may need to have some clarification on that if that needs to stay there. I wasn't sure about that one, but I put it on there to be inclusive, if it was the right road or the right issue. 9, update on traffic calming concepts on Tamarack near Highland. And a follow-up report on Tamarack Avenue, including collisions and vehicle speed. That was last month. There was some data that wasn't included in the staff report that was requested from you. We can follow up on that. 10, review traffic issues near Carlsbad High School. 11, general request to get updates on effectiveness of past projects. One in particular was, can we review the speed limit on Avenida and Encinas to reflect the potential reduction in speed resulting from the recent road dike that was done there as a restriping. 12, follow up on traffic calming on Rancho Santa Fe, especially near Camino Junipero. And 13, present alternatives to the proposed always stop on La Costa Camino de los Coches. We had come to you with a proposed always stop. It did not get approved, and we were requested to go back and come up with alternative design concepts for intersection improvements. 14, a presentation on roundabouts and mid-block crosswalks recently constructed in the Quarry Creek development, which is in the northeast area of the city by College, behind the Walmart area there. 15, presentation on multimodal level of service tool that we have developed. 16, a review of traffic report for Marja Acres development application. For example, the intersection level of service at El Camino Real and Kelly Drive. 17, presentation on license plate readers that were recently installed. 18, a presentation on safe routes to school programs. And 19 is somewhat of a catch-all, but there were several requests related to the proposed work plan. We've listed those before, and a lot of them are on this list. But for example, there's a review for pedestrian safety and identify potential projects along Carlsbad Boulevard. So those are recommendations specifically to be added to the work plan, which I don't think are follow-up action items, but I just wanted you to make sure that we were listening. So I can't go into detail on a schedule or where the priorities land, but I am asking you to say, is this list complete? Is there something we can take off? Is there something we should add that has already been requested, not new requests at this time?
Commissioner?
One question I have on the, if you could go back to, I think it was in regards to the promenade. Has that
Yes.
been addressed by City Council, or has there been action on that?
There was no action. There was someone that came into the Traffic Safety Commission and said, you should really take a look at this. Since there isn't any action on that, I don't know how much I would prioritize that, seeing that it has to go a little bit of ways before it becomes a realistic or viable solution. So that's what was presented. We didn't commit to making a presentation, but that was a request and it was passed to have it come back to us.
I guess my question to the commission is, do we need number 7 on there? It seemed to me that wasn't very, I just didn't know where that was going.
Yeah.
So,
Any other comments?
Yeah, since it impacts on movement around the village and stuff and the traffic patterns and things, I think it's something, again, I don't know how far out it is, but something we'd like to at least have an idea of before it moves forward, rather than, hey, here's the plan, what do you guys think? So,
I don't know if there's public outreach, but that's a little bit of a deliberation. I should be standing up there, but if there's questions to clarify, but before you deliberate on and which ones go and leave, maybe we should do a public outreach and then come back for you to decide what to.
you asked if they
I know I should have.
one should be on there or not on there, so we're.
I know.
Are you retracting your question?
I'm just thinking maybe formality. We might want to see if there's anybody that wanted to talk about this from the public.
I have a question on the Grand Promenade. How far out is that plan? Is it somewhat concrete or is it still being developed?
Well, the village master plan was presented to you, and it's a vision document. So it doesn't have years put to it on specific projects. It's just really how the vision would fit together. So that in particular would have to go through a lot of hurdles before it really becomes a CIP project. So it's not going to become a CIP project in the near future that I know of, until it goes through those reviews and gets a little bit more review on it.
And our work plan is supposed to be for years 2019 through 20?
Pardon?
Our work plan is supposed to be for years 2019 through 2020? I don't know if there's a specific date when it's supposed to start. I think it was supposed to be fiscal year, July to July, but when we get this done and approved, I think we should consider it a 12-month plan from the time we approve it. Yep. Anything else?
I think it's tough to put these 19 into a priority sitting here right now. We probably should include it in our workshop. Personally, my preference would be some of the items that are where we're asking for sort of general presentations for our education, that I would put those as a lower priority than sort of the, everyone knows my predisposition to wanting to address like core issues in the mobility element. And so if we get a lot of these sort of educate us on this and that, we're gonna take up all of our meeting time. So I'd prefer to put those as a lower priority, I guess. Also, it seems like we could probably have like an online, it seems like a lot of the issues come up repeatedly. Like we've talked about 85th percentile speed limit rules and roundabouts and things, that if there's education that can be done on that, maybe it could be in a written form, posted online for both the public and the commission to see, and if we have some, just so that we don't use a lot of meeting time on those types of things.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so thanks for doing this. This is great. And we obviously have a lot on our plate. And so I agree with Commissioner Linke that some of the things that are educational in nature should be really low priority. But I did want to, and I'm not trying to add anything, I'm just trying to clarify, there's number 17, which is probably, should be, even though this is not in priority order, this is probably where that should be in some priority. But I think the original issue came up with regard to the automated speed indicator and how that would connect to different kinds of things that might impact privacy. Now, we probably could leave this and just with license plate reader with the understanding that that would be a question that would come up with during that time. But, and I'm glad to see it, but it is, I understand that it would be a relatively low priority because it's educational. But I think things like that are important as well.
Yeah, I think that if it helps, that's why we're not going to prioritize now. It's that the next item you have, we're going to start talking about values and objectives and goals and the vision, so that we go through a process and we don't just jump in and start voting thumbs up, thumbs down. So this is just a matter of did we hear you? Is there anything here that's on here that should be taken off? But then the next item is going to be the process of starting the work plan and come up with a process to prioritize. So believe me, we'll walk through some steps so they see what fits in, what are these big categories, and we can attack this in a systemic way. So just now is this list complete, and is there something there that could be removed?
I think that's a good explanation. Thank you. Does anyone have any recommendations to delete anything? Huh?
I would say that, I mean, a lot of the things that I'd like to see for the mobility element aren't on this list. So are you saying that this is the starting point and we're whittling down from here? Or this is just examples of things that we have voted on or requested in the past?
This is, as you can tell, there was a staff transition recently, and we just took note. This is a good time, and as I'm taking over on an interim process of that, we're kind of using this as a good opportunity to say, okay, let's look back on every set of minutes and every note that we could take to see if we correctly tracked everything that you've requested. So these are official requests. I believe, if not every one of them has been voted on, they've been officially requested from the board or from the commission.
I have a question on number 19. I'm assuming this item is also part of what the City Council asked in their July meeting to have a Carlsbad Boulevard pedestrian safety plan, crossing plan. That would be incorporated in 19?
I believe that was a different one. 19 is just that catch-all. Oh, for example, the example, yeah, that's kind of where we would be looking at that as an umbrella for actions that would be in the work plan. Okay. So that was I don't think it had anything to do with specific. I think the council item came after you requested this. So as I recall. I think this was requested by the TSC, and then subsequently, the city council also said that they would like to see some potential projects along Carlsbad Boulevard.
Yes, it was mentioned at the city council meeting saying that there was a lot of pedestrian problems crossing there on the boulevard.
Right, and that's why the work plan is going to be eventually approved by the city council, so it's very important for us, imperative for us to link what we do here with what we find to be a goal and objectives of the city council. So that's a perfect example where that fits hand in hand in what council asked for. So whether it's put there verbatim exactly like that in our work plan, or if there's, how we go about it, I think that's the process that we're going to go through.
Just on an administrative note, I looked at the city of Encinitas. On their traffic commission, they have an item list of all public requests, either from the commission or from the city council or whatever, just to kind of keep you apprised of the status of each of these items. I have an example if you want to look at it.
Yeah, that'd be great. And the tracking is something that we are, one of the things, I hope you realize that we have been tracking these, and the actions are going to be forthcoming, but we do have to, prioritize it. So
Right.
that would be a good idea to periodically, I don't know if I can commit to, having it every month, but I think periodically we can come back with this. And once we have a work plan, that's the whole idea of the work plan, is we have a schedule for 12 months and we have specific goals for
It would be a
fitting.
log that we could, periodically refer to.
Yes,
Maybe not on a monthly basis, but, yeah.
I think
Thank you.
that's a good idea, and we can
Okay.
commit to that.